So, AI coding tools, they're everywhere, right? And they're promising this huge revolution in productivity. But what if I told you that in this big rush to ship code faster, the entire software industry is building on a really shaky legal foundation? The core question is this: what if you don't actually own the code your AI writes? I mean, it's no secret. If you're in software, you know we're in the middle of a massive shift. And look, these new AI tools, they're not just hype. They are genuinely changing how we build things. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is focused on those productivity gains. And honestly, the excitement is totally justified. These things are getting adopted at a crazy pace for one simple reason: they actually work. But, and this is a big but, beneath all that progress, there's this fundamental problem that for some reason almost no one is talking about yet. It's like this elephant in the room, But it's so big that it's almost invisible. We're talking about a core legal issue here that could flip our whole understanding of what it even means to build and own software. So what is this glitch in the system? Well, it all comes down to a copyright conundrum. And to really get it, we have to look at the official word from a player you might not expect to be at the center of all this: the US Copyright Office. Okay, so here it is. This is the bombshell. The Copyright Office has come out and said that if a work, like a piece of code, lacks sufficient human creative authorship, then it's just not copyrightable. Think about that. No human author means no copyright. That one little rule, it changes everything. And the consequence of that is super simple, but huge. If it's not copyrightable, it's in the public domain. And that means nobody owns it. Not you, not your company, nobody. To make this crystal clear, we need to talk about a kind of absurd but totally real legal case involving a monkey.
Yeah, I know how that sounds. But this isn't some abstract legal theory. There is a famous and, frankly, pretty bizarre legal precedent that lays this all out for us. It is time to talk about the monkey selfie.
Okay, so this is the photo. It's at the heart of this whole thing. A nature photographer, he's in Indonesia, he sets up his camera, owns all the gear, everything's ready to go, but then this crested macaque, a monkey, grabs the camera and starts taking pictures of itself, and it gets this absolutely incredible selfie. So, of course, this ends up in court, and the ruling was crystal clear. The monkey, not the human, pressed the shutter, so there was no human author. And that's the principle. Simple, but so powerful. No human author, no copyright claim. The photo? It went straight into the public domain. It belongs to everyone, and therefore, to no one.
All right, so let's bring this back. What on earth does a monkey with a camera have to do with you writing code with an AI? Well, as it turns out, pretty much everything. Just look at how similar the situations are. The photographer owned the camera, set up the shot. The developer? They own the computer. They write the prompt. They facilitate the whole thing. But who actually created the final work? In one case, the monkey pressed the shutter. In the other, the AI generates the actual creative expression, the code.
So this leads to the absolute central question here. In this new world of AI-generated code, what does human authorship even mean? What's the legal line? Well, what we know so far is what doesn't count. Just prompting the AI? That's not authorship. Specifying requirements? Nope. Guiding the output, testing it, validating it? Also not authorship. And why not? Because all of that stuff is about defining what to make. It's not the actual creative expression of how it's made. The how, the code itself, that's coming straight from the machine. Okay, so let's follow this logic. If huge chunks of AI-generated code aren't actually protected by copyright, what happens then? Well, it leads us straight into a potential ownership crisis for the entire software industry. Think of it like dominoes falling. First, the AI generates the code. Second, that code might not be copyrightable. Third, if it's not copyrightable, it can't be owned. And fourth, if you can't own it, you can't license it. And that is the critical takeaway right there. All these companies rushing to use AI are paying to create software that they might not even legally own. The very foundation of their intellectual property is suddenly on shaky ground. And listen, this isn't just a problem for big corporations and their proprietary software. This cuts right to the heart of the open source world, too. Think about it. Licenses like the GNU public license, they depend on copyright to work. That's the whole legal mechanism behind copyleft that keeps things free. If there's no copyright to begin with, the power of those licenses could just fizzle out.
Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean every single line of code written with AI help is now public domain. It's a lot more nuanced than that. The reality is, we're walking into this really blurry, legally untested future where that line is anything but clear.
The key legal difference is probably going to come down to AI assisted versus AI generated, right? So if a person is really in there, meaningfully designing, editing, structuring the final work, taking some AI output, but then heavily refactoring it into their own architecture, then yeah, copyright probably still sticks. But if the human is just prompting the machine and then shipping that raw output, that's where you enter this legal limbo. That's where ownership becomes a giant question mark. So the bottom line is this, something that the entire tech industry has treated as a settled fact for decades. The simple idea that you own the software you create is now completely up for debate. We're entering a time where the whole legal status of code has to be looked at again, from the ground up. And that leaves us with one last kind of provocative question for every single developer and company jumping on this AI train. As you pour all this time and money into AI-driven development, you have to ask yourself, if you don't actually own the code you're shipping, what are you even building?